Have you ever stayed, not because it felt right, but because you thought it should be? You told yourself, maybe I just need more time. Maybe love takes effort. Maybe this is what real relationships look like. And so, you stayed. Even when your chest tightened. Even when silence between you grew louder than words. You clung to logic like a life raft, because your heart was too afraid to swim on its own. You saw the red flags, but painted them white with hope, with memories, with stories. You told yourself they were just shadows, that every love has hard days, that you're just being sensitive. And still, your body whispered, in the quiet, in the way you couldn't sleep, in the way you sighed after every conversation, in the way you smiled, but only with your lips. Your soul knew. It always knew. But your mind, so beautifully rational, wanted to understand. To fix? To stay? We've all been there. In the space between what feels off and what looks right, we try to make it make sense. We try to label love as enough because we're afraid of starting over. Because we're afraid to be the one who leaves. But what if love was never meant to be explained? What if the body, the breath, the stillness in your chest after they leave was already your answer? What if the heart always knew and you just stopped listening? We've all done it. Loving with a checklist. Staying because it makes sense. Because they're kind. Because you've been together so long. Because on paper, it looks perfect. You gather reasons like pebbles in your pocket. They support your dreams. They've never hurt you. Your friends like them, they want a future. But deep inside, there's a quiet tension. An ache that doesn't speak in words. A feeling that something isn't aligning. But still, you argue with your heart. You silence your intuition by drowning it in logic. Because logic feels safe. It's measurable, explainable. And the heart? It's wild, soft, uncontrollable, and sometimes too honest. You tell yourself, it's just a phase. I'm lucky to have someone like this. I just need to try harder. But inside, something feels off. You laugh, but it doesn't reach your chest. You kiss them, but your body doesn't soften. You make plans, but your soul feels distant. It's the space between what's right on paper and what's wrong in your gut. And we're taught to ignore that gut, to be reasonable, to be loyal, to be grateful. But what if loyalty to someone else was becoming betrayal to yourself? Love, when overanalyzed, is like a bird in a cage. You can still see it, still name it love, still tell others, look, it's here. But it no longer sings. Because love isn't meant to be trapped in shoulds and musts. It thrives in breath, not balance sheets. In presence, not performance. It dies the moment we try to dissect it, like pulling petals from a flower just to prove it's beautiful. When you keep asking, is this enough? Am I too much? Are we right together? You lose the very magic that made you ask those questions in the first place. So I ask you gently, have you mistaken fear for loyalty? Are you staying because you love them? Or because you're afraid of the unknown? Does your mind say yes while your body whispers no? Because love, real love, doesn't need defending. It's not a puzzle to be solved. It's a feeling to be felt, unfolded in your chest, alive in your breath. And maybe, just maybe, Your heart's been waiting for you to stop thinking long enough to hear it. Your body always knows. Before your mind can reason, before your heart dares to speak, the body whispers what words cannot hold. You feel it in the tightness in your chest when they walk in the subtle shrinking of your shoulders when you say, "I'm fine," in the way your breath gets shallow around them like you're bracing yourself. There's no betrayal louder than the body that quietly contracts every time you say yes, when you mean no, and maybe no one else sees it, but you do. In the fatigue after every conversation, in the tension you carry in your jaw, your belly, your spine, it's not in your head, it's in your cells. Have you ever laid next to someone and felt lonelier than when you were alone? Or felt a heaviness in your chest, not from heartbreak, but from the slow erosion of joy? Maybe it's the deep sighs you let out when no one's around, the way you start counting the hours instead of enjoying the moments, or how your body doesn't soften into their touch anymore, it flinches. Just a little, but enough. You don't dream the same. You don't laugh the same. Even sleep begins to leave you, because your body knows this isn't safe. This isn't love. This is endurance. Now close your eyes and remember a time, even if it was brief, when you felt truly loved. How did your body feel? Did your breath deepen? Did your shoulders drop? Did you forget to worry just for a moment? Because when you are seen, really seen, your body doesn't brace, it blooms. Your nervous system exhales. Your heart stops defending itself. Your skin doesn't flinch, it welcomes. That's the kind of love the body recognizes as truth. It doesn't need a reason. It just relaxes. So the question isn't, is this person right for me? The question is, what does my body become in their presence? If love feels like walking on eggshells, it's not love. It's fear in disguise. If love feels like you have to shrink to stay, it's not love. It's self-abandonment dressed as compromise. And if love makes your body feel safe, held, seen, enough, don't overthink it. Let that be the compass. Let your body lead you home. Your heart doesn't speak in noise. It doesn't shout. It doesn't list pros and cons. It doesn't bargain or explain. It just knows. It knows when something feels true. It knows when love is present. And it knows, without evidence, when something is missing, even if it looks perfect from the outside. But we often silence it, because the heart doesn't make sense. It doesn't follow logic. It simply follows energy. And sometimes that energy whispers, "This isn't it," even when you desperately want it to be. Do you remember a moment, maybe long ago, when love felt effortless? Not loud, not dramatic, just safe. Maybe it was a hand gently brushing yours, a silent look that made you feel completely seen, a laugh that rose from your belly because, for once, you weren't performing. That moment wasn't about fireworks. It was about peace. You felt no need to be anything more than yourself. And that was enough. That's the wisdom of the heart. It remembers peace, not chaos. Now, if it feels safe to do so, place your hand on your chest, right over your heart, and take a slow, full breath. Don't think. Just breathe. Ask gently, without words, "How do you feel, my love?" And listen, not for answers, but for feeling. Does your heart feel open or closed? Tight or soft? At ease or guarded? This simple practice, returning to your heart, can guide you through what the mind can't solve, because the heart always knows. Even if it doesn't speak in sentences. You've been trained to think your way into love, to decide it, define it, control it. But real love is felt. It doesn't need convincing. It doesn't need fixing. So next time you're unsure, don't ask, "What should I do?" Ask, "What does my heart feel in their presence?" And trust that whisper. It's your deepest truth. It's your way home. Somewhere along the way, we were taught that staying means strength, and leaving means failure. But that's not truth. That's fear disguised as duty. Walking away isn't giving up. It's listening. It's honoring the quiet ache in your soul that says, "This isn't where I grow." It takes deep courage to say, "I love, but I also choose me." And maybe that's the most sacred kind of love. One that doesn't demand sacrifice, but invites self-honoring. Choosing yourself might come with guilt, because you were conditioned to believe that love means enduring everything. But what if love also means listening to your needs? What if it's okay to walk away? When your body is tired, your spirit shrinking, and your joy forgotten, you're not selfish for needing peace. You're not cruel for wanting freedom. You're simply remembering your worth. Let that be enough. Imagine the most beautiful pair of shoes. Elegant, shining. Everyone says they're perfect. But when you wear them, they blister your heels. They make you limp. They hurt no matter how stunning they look. You wouldn't keep them, would you? Not because they're ugly, but because they simply don't fit. Some love is like that. Beautiful in theory, but painful in your body. And you're allowed to take them off. Not every love is meant to last. Some come to wake you up, to show you where you've been dimming your light. They arrive like a spark and leave like a breeze. But their purpose is sacred. They remind you of what love should never feel like. So if you're holding on, ask gently, am I staying or am I shrinking? Because leaving doesn't mean you failed. It means you're finally listening. Some love stories aren't meant to stay. They're meant to awaken. And that, too, is love. We've been told compatibility is a checklist. Similar values, shared hobbies, matching life goals. But souls don't tick boxes. They vibrate, they echo, they feel. True compatibility isn't found in logic. It's felt in the spaces between words and how your nervous system responds when they walk into the room. It's not about how well you fit on paper, but how your heart softens when you're near them. Not performance, not perfection, just presence. Real compatibility feels like ease. It feels like emotional safety. The kind where you don't need to shrink, explain, or impress. It's in the way they see the parts of you that you once tried to hide and love them anyway. It's the softness in their presence that makes your body exhale without permission. Compatibility is when your chaos doesn't scare them, when your silence is heard, when your tears are safe, not because they're perfect, but because they meet you with gentleness. You know you're truly compatible when you feel more like yourself around them, not less. When love doesn't demand, but allows. When you don't lose your voice, but find it. It's not always fireworks or passion. Sometimes it's just peace. The kind of peace that lets you rest, that lets you bloom, that lets you be. And that is the kind of compatibility that doesn't fade. So here's a question to take into your heart. What if compatibility wasn't about matching dreams, but about matching energy? What if it wasn't about shared opinions, but shared safety? What if compatibility was simply peace? Not loud, not complicated, just the quiet knowing. I don't have to fight to feel seen here. I just am. Let that be your new compass. Let your soul decide. There comes a moment when logic can't lead you anymore. When the lists don't help, the advice doesn't land, and the heart just whispers, number. You may not be able to explain it. You may not even understand it, but your body knows. Your chest tightens when you try to stay. Your soul aches in the silence, and something inside quietly begs you to choose yourself. This is not weakness. This is wisdom. The kind that doesn't shout, it hums. Trust it. You don't need permission to leave. You don't need a dramatic reason. You don't need proof. Sometimes, your feeling is the proof. The quiet ache, the sleepless nights, the way you stopped laughing like you used to. It doesn't have to be toxic to be misaligned. It doesn't have to be bad to be wrong for you. And just because you can endure it, doesn't mean you should. You don't owe anyone a story. Only your heart, an honest answer. It's okay if no one else gets it. It's okay if it looks perfect from the outside. You know what it feels like on the inside. You know the difference between trying harder and this isn't mine to carry. You are allowed to leave, not with anger, not with blame, but with grace. You are allowed to walk away, simply because staying would cost you too much of yourself. You are allowed to say no, even if it breaks someone else's dream, even if it breaks your own idea of what should have been. So here's what I hope you remember. You don't need to prove pain to earn peace. You don't need to make sense of your intuition, to trust it. You don't need the world to validate your leaving. Your heart already did. As Rupi Kaur once said, you don't need proof to walk away. Feeling is enough. Let that be your freedom. Let that be your closure. Let that be your beginning. You don't have to decide anything tonight. You don't have to figure it all out. Sometimes the bravest thing is just to stop fighting what you already know. The knowing isn't loud. It won't convince you with logic. It simply waits like still water for you to soften into it. So breathe. Not to fix, not to control, but to let yourself be exactly where you are. In the truth, in the pause, in the ache. And let that be enough. Maybe love isn't something you walk toward. Maybe love is what finds you. When you stop trying to make things make sense, no stories, no justifications, just the silent clarity of being honest with your own heart. There's nothing wrong with you for needing peace. There's nothing weak about choosing stillness over survival. Sometimes, the most loving thing is simply not to pretend anymore. So if your breath feels a little softer now, if something inside you just unclenched, hold that. Let it be your compass. Let it be your home. You are not too much. You are not too late. You are not alone. If your soul feels seen, then stay. We don't need to rush the healing. We just need to remember how to be gentle with ourselves again.